If the Beast Wars toy line will ever be remembered for anything in the minds of Transformers fans, it is the innovation it brought to the franchise. And I'm not speaking only about details that still ring true today, such as increased articulation and detail. I mean that they did a soft reset practically every year that changed up the core gimmicks. From the One-Steps and Mutant Masks of 1996, to the Energon chips of 1997, the Fusors and Transmetals of 1998, and the Transmetal 2 of 1999, Kenner always had something up their sleeves to wow fans at the time. And when the sun was setting on the Beast Wars, we were left with some marvels of Transformers designs that should still be revered today. Welcome to IdArmed Reviews. Today we'll be taking a look at the Beast Wars Transformers Basic Class Transmetal 2 Spittor. Spittor released in 1999 and is a theoretical upgrade to the character of the same name who were initially released in 1997. Starting off with Spittor's frog mode, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I think this guy is straight up more of a beast than a frog. Before we go into the specifics of Spittor himself, a brief idea of what Transmetals 2 are. They were intended to be an ugly mixture of biological and technological details, with asymmetrical sculpting and extra limbs galore. In a way, the line was a literal ugly prediction of the theming of designs featured in its successor, Beast Machines. Spittor here really does fit that description to a T. Looking at the sculpt, you can see how grotesquely gorgeous the sculpting on this figure is. Throughout, you can notice features such as pipes and techno-esque panels complementing the hideous warts and protruding spikes covering the near entirety of the body. Also seen across the body is the aforementioned asymmetry, with features such as the size of the teeth widely varying, the spikes on no two limbs being completely different, and even the details of the eyes having their own special sculpt. Add in the abnormally long front legs, and Spittor really does feel like an experiment of tarantulas gone wrong. To enhance this wicked design is the amount of extra paint complementing the nice shades of blue making up the bare plastic. The combination of said blues along with the neon green paint making up much of Spittor's rear sure makes me wish more Transformers used these colors together. And of course, we can't forget the signature chrome of all Transmetals. It's crazy how pristine the green chrome of the body and pink of the eyes has been well kept, but thanks to them, it gives Spittor that last oomph we needed to really pop out compared to the basics of the past. And articulation on Spittor is also exemplary, though it is largely due to his limbs carrying over into the robot mode we'll see later on. Each leg has free joints, with the hind feet being hinges while the front feet are on ball joints. Lastly, both the top and bottom jaws of the mouth can open. Putting Spittor up on a figure stand allows for Spittor to truly work his stuff. And finally, for a figure of his size class, Spittor is packed with features up the wazoo. First, pulling up the chrome portion of the green part reveals what I assume is either a claw or a blaster of sorts. The ball joint and hinge allow for a nice range of posing options regardless of what you think this is. Opening up the jaws reveals the Predacon spark crystal under the roof of the mouth, which looks really nice with its vacuum metallized insignia. And lastly is Spittor's soul accessory, a melee weapon of sorts. After opening Spittor's jaws once again, this weapon pegs into a hole on the lower half to make it look like a tongue of sorts. And while I do think it's neat, nothing will ever beat the original Spittor's head for a tongue spring-loaded gimmick. Overall, Spittor is such a joy in beast mode, with enough to have you fiddling around him for days. And a bit of behind the scenes thing, but Spittor is the longest I've written about a Transformers alt mode, so I think you can tell what nice things I'll have to say for the rest of the figure. With that, let's terrorize into the transformation to robot mode. If you've ever transformed a Beast Wars figure, or heck even some newer Kingdom figures, then the classic fold the limbs down and fiddle with some other bits transformation will feel very familiar. However, the part where you rotate practically the whole top half by 45 degrees to become a pair of shoulder pads is a pleasant motion to perform every time. And bada bing bada boom, we have quite the interesting robot mode. So do you guys see what I mean when I say Beast Wars keeps innovating in terms of everything back then? Because not only was Spittor wicked in beast mode, but he's straight up demonic in his robot mode, like he's some kind of water creature waiting to pluck unsuspecting prey off the mainland and into the bottomless depths of some body of water. And until the debut of the Fossilizers in Kingdom, I didn't think we'd be seeing bot modes of this type for a very long time, if ever. Now in terms of details, nothing is here that we didn't see previously from the frog mode. Rather than that, the parts that make up the frog contribute to some very odd proportions in the best way possible. The gangly legs and thin torso, combined with the literal squared off chest and giant shoulder pads made out of frog bits, feel so mismatched, yet he's able to pull the look off perfectly. Add on the fact that his head just juts out abnormally far, and Spittor looks like a hunchback, always lurking around the dark side looking like he needs a chiropractor. Speaking of head sculpts, Spittor's head is pretty much the one new detail prominently shown off in the robot mode. And wow, it is wonderful to look at. Sure, it doesn't resemble the originals at all, but with its combination of greebling and an organic brain and muscle details, along with the excellent paint applications throughout, it stands out as its own thing worth loving even more so than the original. Now for features, the Claw Blaster thingamajig still pops out, and I feel like here it works better as a blaster. And bringing the melee weapon and or tongue, it can peg into either a palm of Spittor's via a hole, and now it resembles a whip of sorts, or maybe a club. Regardless, it fits really well with Spittor's design, and I literally just found this out now at the time of writing the script, but a hole that's on Spittor's butt can conveniently hold onto the weapon for storage. Spittor does have a lot of articulation for his time, and he owes it to what he had in beast mode. As a result of its placement, the neck can look up, down, and to the right on a series of hinges and ball joints. With the ball joint, the head as a whole can oddly spin around as well. The shoulder pads can move up and down, and below it, each arm has a ball jointed shoulder and elbow, as well as a hinge at the hand. A waist joint allows for Spittor to look side to side more properly, and finally, the hips, knees, and ankles are all ball jointed. Altogether, Spittor has an insane amount of articulation, which is very fitting for a character of his stature. At about 4.5 inches, Spittor is right about the typical height for a Beast Wars basic class figure. For size comparison, here's Spittor with Earthrise Optimus Prime, Beast Wars Snapper, Beast Wars Power Pinch, Takara Beast Wars Quick Strike, and Kingdom Megatron. And with a basic from every year of the line, you can see 100% how much wackier, and if you ask me, better the size class got year after year. Let me just say now that I have no clue how this sold for $5 back in 1999. Between everything he can do and all the detail contained in this tubular toad, Spittor doesn't just compete with the legends and cores of this day, he dominates over them. I'll say that a lot of you guys more inclined towards the G1 or Unicorn Trilogy aesthetics might be turned off by the late Beast era aesthetics, and might find it off-putting, but if you're so lucky as to find a Spittor in the wild, I suggest picking him up, as he's definitely a gateway figure to a much pool of time of our favorite robots in disguise. And that was Spittor, everyone. Thanks for watching. You know, I feel like I've been gushing about Beast Wars a little too much recently on IdArmed reviews, so I think maybe it's time for some good old pandering to Generation 1. But does the subject of the next review really count? I can't answer that for you, but regardless, join me next time when we take a look at a king of a figure who's been making a splash with collectors recently. So, see you all next time, and take care.